Hi there, my name's Anita, and this is the second part of a talk on befriending your inner critic. So we're going to look particularly at self-compassion in this talk. So firstly, I'm going to introduce 3 emotion regulation systems developed by Paul Gilbert. So let me just do a screen share with you. So the first system that I'm going to introduce to you is the blue drive system. So that's the system that motivates us towards resources. But in the modern world, part of gaining our resources is being a successful professional. So it motivates us to do our work, to write the software, to contribute towards research. And part of the neurological structures that are associated with this are the nucleus accumbens. I don't know a lot about it. Maybe you do. You can look it up on Google if you want to know more. And the hormone associated with it is dopamine. So that's more to demonstrate that this is a physiological, neurological system that we all have. And dopamine is the hormone you experience if you do sport, if you watch sport, if you win. So it's the moment when the athlete goes through the line and then their arms are raised and they go, woohoo, yes. And you might experience that at work, of course. You've been trying to solve a bug in your software for a while, and then you get it, and you're like, yes, I got it. I know exactly what to do now. Or maybe it's that you have an abstract accepted, or you get the next project that you really want. So it's like, yes, I did it. So it's a really important system to allow us to pursue our goals. So it involves wanting, pursuing, achieving, progressing, and focusing. Yeah, so that's the drive system. The second system I'm going to introduce is the red threat system. So we've talked a little about this already in the first part of this talk, and this is what keeps us safe. So it's very important. It's about threat detection, about protection. Better safe than sorry. So the part of the brain it's associated with is the amygdala. So we're talking about the older, more reptilian part of the brain, lower towards the brainstem, more automated, if you like. And the hormones that are associated with it are adrenaline and cortisol, and feelings of anger, anxiety, frustration, disgust. So we can experience that if you're about to go on and do a talk. Consciously, you know you're not actually probably under threat, but you get those feelings of anxiety. You want to protect yourself. You may get it if there is a particular person in your group or in your work environment that you feel is quite critical towards you. Sometimes you can get, those heart palpitations coming up and the tensing of the muscles, the looking to fight or flight or freeze. So that's the threat system. And really, I think the inner critic encourages a tight coupling between these two systems. So wanting to achieve, progress, so that we're doing well. That's what our inner critic encourages us to do. It's often triggered by the threat system, and it's often reinforced by the threat system. And possibly, I don't know, but possibly in our modern times, we can really get stuck between these drive and threat systems. So there's a third system, and that is the green soothing system. So it manages distress and it promotes bonding. The brain area that's associated with is the prefrontal cortex. So here we're talking about the sort of higher levels of the brain, the more evolved parts of the brain. And the hormones are opiates and oxytocin. So oxytocin is sometimes called the love hormone or the hug hormone. So it's what you get if you give or are given a hug. If you're a hugger, maybe hugs throw you into the threat system. I don't know. So maybe that's not a good example for you. It's what mums get when they breastfeed. So it's about bonding, yeah. So it's associated with feelings of contentment, safety, feeling protected, cared for, trusted, maybe appreciated. So maybe you can get this at work if you're relaxing with colleagues, maybe when you laugh together at a joke. Sometimes you get it if people support you, if you support them, if you're appreciated. So it's a model, it'll have its limitations, but really we're not looking to live our lives completely in the soothing system. We're looking to have a balance of all three. So we're sort of healthy, happy in our work-life balance. So when the inner critic arises, we can use mindfulness to move from that tight coupling between the red threat and blue achievement systems and bring in some balance with the green soothing system. So we can try and become more aware of what our inner critic looks like. And when the thoughts, sensations, and emotions arise, we can try and bring kindness to them by creating space for them. So we don't try and change them. Instead, we watch them arise and notice how they shift and change. And we can kind of imaginatively breathe kindness into these sensations. See if that helps us. So it's sort of imagining the air is filled with kindness and breathing it in and absorbing it in our bodies. And in a way, we can kind of bow to the inner critic. We can say thank you to it. It's a product of millions of years of evolution. It's there trying to keep us safe and protect us. So self-compassion towards the inner critic can often help us let go of the outer critics as well. We're not needing to protect ourselves from them so much. So by offering ourselves compassion, we can find a sense of fulfillment in that in itself and move into that green soothing system. So we're less reliant on the opinions of others to feel contentment. The kindness that comes with self-compassion also supports creativity. Rather than being fearful that our ideas won't work out, that they won't be received well, kindness allows us to take notice of our ideas, to follow them through. Any hiccups, rather than seeing, oh, it's all gone wrong, it's a failure, we're like, oh, well, that's interesting. Maybe I can make something of that as well. So we notice what's important to us, where our energy is, what we're enjoying, and we can follow that path rather than being constrained by the negative opinions of others. So it's not so much that we live our lives in that soothing system, but maybe almost that we define the goals of our drive system so that the soothing system and the drive system are more aligned. Self-compassion can also allow us to make the changes we need with confidence. So maybe we may need to make it clear what works best for us. And that can produce positive outcomes for ourselves and for the group. We can contribute more when we're happy and healthy. We might be able to change or reframe a situation so it works well for us. But also we might notice when it doesn't and when it's beyond our influence, and we can start to look for ways to find new opportunities or different ways of working. So mindfulness can help us sort of create some distance, some space from that inner critic, find creativity, find different possibilities, notice what's important to us and follow that. in this sometimes rewarding and sometimes challenging research software environment. And people talk about mindfulness being very much a practice. So what do I mean by that? And I suppose it takes practice, and it's sort of going back to that idea of neural rewiring. That takes reinforcement to rewire these positive patterns. So practicing the meditations that are part of this session can help, those dedicated times, and also just listening to yourself in terms of what brings on the drive system, what brings on the threat system, what for you brings on the soothing system. And it may be very different for different people. So I'd encourage you to take your research curiosity and take that model and see when it works for you and when it doesn't, and the mindful exercises too. People can practice mindfulness in very different ways. So I hope you found something helpful there in that talk, the neuropsychology, the mindfulness, maybe some reflection of our work environments, and wish you well with, living life more in the green soothing system. Thank you.